And the week upcoming for the Capitals as we head on into the playoff time.
And I just started that Facebook Live just now. You can check it out. CP3 live from the lab with AnnaK and RobbieG for Capitals recap of the week that was. They went 1-2, so obviously my 3-0 prediction didn't come true. But there was a couple of games that we're definitely going to talk about that I need to talk about. So Anna, let's go ahead and break down these games from last week.
Yep, no problem. So last week, Washington headed to Pittsburgh, and so at 19:27 in the first, Jacob Vrana scored his 20th, assisted by Backstrom and Oshie. Welcome to the club, Vrana. And the second period at 10:24, Vrana scores again, making it 2-0 Cap. But then the Pens turn it around and score 3 times, closing out the second period. The Pens score first in the third period, but John Carlson has an amazing power play goal, assisted by Ovechkin and Backstrom to make it 4-3. Unfortunately, we were a little bit short, and the Pens scored. This was just one of those very frustrating games. So that was it. So it was a loss to Pittsburgh. It was a shaking your head kind of moment. It was aggressive. It was a physical game. We knew it was going to happen, and really was hoping that we would come out on top, and unfortunately we did not. So I don't know how you guys feel about it, but anxious to hear your opinions.
Robbie, you want to go first, or you want me to go first?
I'll let you go first while I share to a couple of quick Facebook groups. But, right. Yeah, we have a lot to talk about for sure.
Yeah, that game, the Caps played great for a period and a half, and then I'm not going to blame it. I'm not going to blame the loss on Kuzi, but when we were just talking about the Caps playing the way they've been playing, always on point, always aware, being sharp, it was a lazy play coming out the zone. He got his pocket picked, and it turned into a score. Then, boom, they take a bad penalty. Power play, Penn score again. Boom, tied up 2-2. In my opinion, Reardon should have took a timeout. Like, hey, let's get some things together. Let's, calm down. But then, boom, 3 goals in 2 minutes and 47 seconds. And at that time, the momentum was done. I didn't, 4-3, they clawed back in it. We were hoping for, a late tie. But that whole momentum swing and that whole 2 minutes of the second period, that whole 3 minutes, the second period just cannot happen. And the second period is the Capitals' strongest period. They score the most goals in the second period. And to have Pittsburgh do that, you can't have that happen, even though it was on the road. Like you said, Anna, it was a head-shaking moment. You went from feeling like the game was in hand to what the hell just happened in a span of 3 minutes.
Okay.
And, yeah, they can't have that happen again. And I hope they don't have that happen again. Robbie, what do you have to say about that game?
Yeah, it's obviously frustrating. I hate losing to them specifically, I don't know. It was just a very frustrating overall game. But it's kind of one of those games you just kind of have to throw away and see what you're going to do next. But I was happy with the rebound effort in the next game, but it's just, I felt like Pittsburgh just got in your head for 3 minutes and it ruined us, and that kind of sucks because I had really high expectations for us and the Capitals in that game, and it was just disappointing all around. And I felt like they played 57 minutes of great hockey and probably played enough to win, but we just didn't get any of those bounces to go our way towards the end, and those 3 minutes killed us.
Yeah, pretty much. Like you said, sometimes the bounces go your way. In that first period and most of the second, it was bouncing their way. But the momentum swings quick in hockey, and that was a playoff atmosphere game because Pittsburgh currently are 3 points behind the Caps. They lost in overtime last night. I was actually watching that game, and so they're in playoff mode, trying to scratch and claw off the playoffs. End of the day, I just looked at the matchup, and the Caps will play the Pens in the first round because the Islanders won yesterday also and technically are in first place. So, like you said, it can't happen. We haven't seen it happen, most of the season. Luckily, this isn't something that happens on the regular. So, like you say, this is one of those games you just got to throw away and move on to the next one, which we'll do now with Anna go break down the Philly game.
There we go. So 2 days later, the Caps headed to Philly, and you have Brett Connolly scoring first at 2:53, assisted by Kent Ian Carlson, and then followed by the Tiger, scoring his 11th, assisted by Hagelin, which was his 8th, and Connolly's 20th. Second penalty, the Flyers scored first, but Connolly scores again, assisted by Hagelin at 8:43. And a minute later, Tom Wilson, he joins the 20-goal club. Little dance over here, with assist by Kuzi, which was his 44th, and Orlov 22nd, making it a 4-1 Cap lead. 12:22, the Flyers score, but at 17:34 into the third, Kuzi gets his 18th with an empty netter, and we win with a score of 5-2. So this was a nice. This is what they needed. They needed, to kind of bounce back from the Pittsburgh game. But man, those Penguins, damn it! you wish for more, but I thought that this was. I thought that they looked good at this game, and it wasn't as many, so much like aggression and the physicality of it, like with Penguins, but that's okay. A win's a win, and they looked better at this game as they did definitely in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, definitely. They needed this game. I said, Philly was fighting for their playoff lives, but the Capitals should be able to handle their business. Tom Wilson getting his 20th for the first time in his career, that's huge, with him contributing, and he missed, 14 games of the season, so imagine what he's going to do in the full season. And it's just, I love seeing, home drafted talent flourish, and the fact that he came up from the fourth line and is up on the first line and doing what he's doing now. Everybody talks about, why do players go other places and play better than they do here? We're actually getting to see him develop into the player, just like John Carlson, just like we've seen Ovechkin do. And it's just good to see, him step up and play the way he's been playing and drop the gloves when necessary, because this next game we're going to talk about, we play Tampa again, and I got a feeling there's going to be some fisticuffs in the first period of that game. But, Robbie, what did you think about the Philly game?
Oh, yeah, I just was very happy that the Capitals, put together a great game plan. I didn't feel like they had the letdown we had seen in some of the other, or at least in the previous game. And we get to see a little bit of the letdown in the next game that we talked about, unfortunately. But I just thought that overall it was just a great effort. Obviously, Brett Connolly just had a hell of a game. Just one of the best performances I've seen. Obviously, we'll have some decisions to be made with him in the offseason since he's a free agent. Lars Eller has scored 3 times in the last 4 games or something, so he's been playing well. Tom Wilson joining the 20-goal scoring league, which I love. I still to this day see all these debates on Facebook about who's better, Reeves or Wilson, and I'm like, come on, man,
That's not even a debate. Come on, that's not even a debate. That's mindless nonsense. I wouldn't even waste my time with the keystrokes or the conversation for that.
Right. No, I know. So it's laughable, but there's people who still want to try to argue the other side, which I'm like, wow. And they were like, oh, he's only got 20 goals because he's on the line with Ovi and Kuzi. I was like, if he wasn't good enough, he wouldn't be on the top line. Reeves could never be on the top line of any team. So how? That argument that you could just stick anybody with Ovi and Kuzi and it would suddenly work out. Where, mind you, if you're a Capitals fan, you'll remember we've tried to stick a lot of people with Ovechkin over the years. It hasn't always worked. Now, Nicholas Backstrom and Kuzi both play well with Ovi, but often that final spot, that other winger, has been a troublesome spot for us over the last 10 years. And I would say Wilson has anchored it the best out of anybody. Thus, we got the Stanley Cup. So, it's just amazing. And obviously, Kuzi getting the empty net in the end is just icing on the cake. But overall, I obviously went to college in Philadelphia, so whenever we beat the Flyers, it makes me happy because I still remember the 2008 playoffs where unfortunately they won in 7, even though I got to go to Game 6 in Philly where they won. which was maybe the most dangerous hockey game I've ever gone to.
No doubt. I bet it was. I got a comment on the Facebook Live leading up into the Lightning game. Said the Lightning from Kenneth Cardigan. He said the Lightning is still a formidable opponent after the 6-3 loss. Too many mental breakdowns on the defensive side of the ice. Need to clean that up before playoff start. And that's the perfect segue into the game we're about to break down now. Go ahead, Anna, talk about this game, because I definitely have some words about this game.
This was a doozy. So we have Saturday. I feel like this is their toughest game against Tampa Bay. So the Lightning scored literally in the first period 3 times. But the Washington Capitals had John Carlson scoring his 12th at 12:06, making it 3-1 Tampa. We do have the captain scoring the only goal with the power play goal assisted by Oshie, which was his 24th, and Carlson, 50 seconds, fantastic, into the second. Now that we're going into the third period, the captain scores his 48th, but Tampa comes back with 2 empty netters in 40 seconds, making it a 3-6 loss. This was expected. We knew it was. I feel like Washington knew this was going to be an insanely physical 60 minutes, no joke game. I think that the Capitals overall looked fantastic. I really do. I feel like they really were out there to get it. But I don't think that from the moment the puck dropped in the first period that they were out to get Tampa Bay as much as Tampa Bay was out to get the Caps. They kind of took a little bit of time there to kind of warm up and say, oh, okay, yeah, now this is no joke. Like let's really get to it. That was a little disappointing, but I feel like they tightened it up. The lines are good. The heart was in it, but unfortunately the heart was in it the second and third period and not so much the first.
The dreaded slow start. And as you mentioned, Tampa, they had something to prove. They still remember the Caps clinching on their ice in Game 7 last year. So they definitely had something to prove. They're the best team, points-wise in the league. They can clinch the President's Trophy tonight if they beat the Coyotes. So, they're in the same position the Capitals were a few years ago, winning back-to-back President's Trophies, and what are they going to do with it? So they feel the pressure. They feel the heat. But I feel the Caps could have still won this game. To me, I'm not going to say the refs, they were letting some liberties being taken by Tampa and then calling the game tight on the Capitals, which I wasn't really understanding. They were letting, Tampa getting away with it, where to the end of the game, as I mentioned, Wilson and one of the Tampa Bay Lightning players, he got a nice little punch in, right before they threw both of them out and actually split dude lip. So I guarantee it's going to be some high tensions in this game upcoming, and when Robbie breaks down the upcoming schedule. But this game was frustrating because I felt like this team could have beat Tampa at home, even going down, 3-1. But like you said, what you said about the Pittsburgh game, that's the first time they played this season. They play them again and play them another time, I think, in the next week after that. So they got redemption on their mind, and hopefully when they get back home to play Tampa, they go out there and actually start from the start of the game and not from the second period. What about you, Robbie?
Oh, sorry. We're going to AnnaK or me. So, obviously, this is very disappointing, and it's a bit of a setback. But, at the same time, I really I respect the effort level that the Capitals put forth. It's something that gets lost in a 6-3 game. This game was really 4-3, where the bounce didn't go in to make it 4-4. It was that close, and then they get 2 empty netters that obviously really warped the sort of aesthetics of the game. But I just thought that at the compete level, the Caps just competed in a championship level, the way that you'd hope that they would rise to the occasion. And I'm excited because we get to play them 2 more times over the next 2 weeks, including on Wednesday, and we'll get to that in the schedule in just a second. But it's going to be an exciting matchup. I'm excited to see what it's like with the DC atmosphere. It's kind of like a mini playoff series or a mini playoff preview. But I just thought the score wasn't indicative of the level of play. I thought the level of play was honestly, the level of play in all three games were pretty good, with the exception of a couple of miscues and a couple of bad plays in both the Pittsburgh game and the Tampa Bay game. But overall, I thought the heat level this week wasn't to be blamed, which it could be in a week where we only won one game out of three.
Yeah, no doubt. I got another comment from Kenneth. He said, no more sleepwalking in the first period. Also, we keep getting killed on the face-off dot since Snoopy isn't here anymore. Yeah, we've talked about the face-off issues, and, they've been – the last week they were up and down. I know it was one game where Kuzi was killer I think it was against Philly when he was killer at the dot. So I don't know what they're going to do about that. That is a good question. What is this team going to do to try to get better at the face-off? Because, Nicky, he's normally at the top of his game. Kuzi, he's had an off season at the face-off dot. So, and it's gone down all four lines. So what do you think this team can do to try to get back right at the face-off circle? And I'll go to you first.
Sure. They do. Snoopy being gone, oh, God. But what you have to do is you have to consider the situation of, okay, listen, Beeks is gone. He was our number one guy. Now the rest of us need to step up and do. We need to fill that void, and I think that we're getting tighter. We're trying. It's there, but we just don't have that consistency. And so I think that's something that the coaches have to bring up and practice and go back to the basics and say, hey, listen, this is what we're going to do, these drills over and over again, because this is what you have to do. You have to win the face-off. We're not there yet, but we need to be. So I'm hoping that, and I have faith in the coaches. I'm probably one that is kind of the black sheep in the situation, but I like Reardon, and I like Reed Cashman and the whole, I like all the guys. And I feel like go back to the basics, work on that, focus on that, and have faith in it. And, let the guys do what they're supposed to do, and quit talking about Beeks as much as we miss them, and focus on who we have right now and who can fill those shoes.
Totally agree. Robbie, what do you say?
I think we're very close. I just think that we need to work on a couple of plays here and there, just our focus and our intensity. I think that the level of commitment is there. It just needs to be there for the full 60 minutes, as we've been talking about. And I just think that they just need a little bit more time to gel with some of these lines. I think it'll be interesting to see who we pick to fill our fourth line with. There's a lot of great players. There's been a lot of debates across Facebook and the radio about how do you fill the last. But also, from the face-off perspective, Kuzi needs to do better. Backstrom's been okay, but obviously when our top two line centers are failing, then it's going to be a long night for the Capitals. So obviously they need to do a little bit better, but we got to shore up what we're going to do with the fourth line. Although it's interesting because it could maybe be situational, where you play Stevenson in some cases and Dowd in others, and there's a lot of options there. So it'd be interesting to see if we even bring Devontae Smith-Pelly back up, as a winger on that line, and there's a lot of question marks still on that fourth.
Well, we got a quick scoring update. Phoenix is 1-0 over Tampa right now with 13 minutes in the first. I was just checking out the score in that game. So, as I said, Tampa can clinch the President's Trophy with a win tonight. Arizona's jumped on them 1-0 already. And you got another quick comment before I go back to you, Anna, from Earl Davis. He said, what's good? He said, Backstrom's the most underrated center in the league, which we've always talked about and always said. But since he's gotten a franchise leader for assist and they finally got the ring, he's actually been starting to get folks have actually started talking about him more. So he was way underrated before. He's still underrated now, but at least he's in the conversation now. And then he also mentions that in football, note real quick, Blake Bortles is to the Rams, which I don't understand that, but we'll talk about that more next Monday when we talk NFL draft, I'm sure.
Nick Backstrom, I mean, I agree. Robbie, you've always said that he's sort of like that unsung hero. He's fantastic. I just absolutely love him. And on the Power Play Point podcast before this, Gil and I spoke about the difference between people in social media throwing Kuzi under the bus when everything, the momentum sort of shifted during the Pittsburgh game. You know, he had a terrible play. I mean, it was awful. It was cringeworthy. And then everything shifted and kind of went downhill. And I wasn't ready to put all the blame on Kuzi for that. Because, you know, you're a team, you know, do they need to call a timeout and regroup? No. You know exactly what you're supposed to do. You all need to rally. It just doesn't come down to one player. And, you know, you kind of see that with, you know, even though we lost against Tampa Bay, you have a veteran who is your captain, you know, your vet, and he's trying and trying and trying, and he's not scoring, and then finally he does, and he gets two, and it's fantastic, and the momentum's there. You know, and it's always hard to lose by empty netters, of course. Like, I always hate that. But I feel like, you know, the shift of the Capitals and where they need to be in their headspace is not just on one player. Same thing with the fans. You know, just can't all come down to Kuzi. Just needs to do better, sure. But he's not the reason why we lost the Pens game. So I had just my own little personal soapbox moment there.
I'm not going to say he cost him the game because the momentum is crazy in hockey. And once they got that first one, because the Capitals were getting the best of them in that game. They were getting the bounces. They were out hustling them.
Yeah.
But once they made that play, that gave them life. And then, you know, things got a little chippy. They called the penalty, which the Caps have been doing a lot of during the season. They've been better at, you know, lately not is doing it as often, but they still got to get that out of their game. And I think a timeout should have been called just for the coach to you know, tell them to chill out, take a breath, relax. You know, it's still 2-2. We play solid hockey for the rest of the period. Go in the third period. We can take this game. He let the momentum continue on the road against a hot team in your division fighting for the playoffs. That's when you call that timeout and say, look, y'all, all right, let's take it. Let's chill. Let's get a formula together. Let's change up a little bit. Because they're getting the best of us right now. Let's do something. And that's where the experience, I think Trotz would have called that timeout. Not throwing shade at Reardon. I'm just saying.
Well, he did it, 2 weeks ago, and it was in the Capitals' favor. And I think everybody kind of was like, oh, that's it. You know, he needs to do more of that. And I don't know. I saw it completely different. I thought, okay, he did something different. He called a timeout, he regrouped everybody, and then I thought, okay, you know what, listen, you're professional athletes, you've been doing this their whole life. We don't need the coach to tell us, time to rally, time to tighten things up, whatever. We shouldn't need those sort of gentle reminders. We should just be able to go out and just kick ass. And, I mean, Gil, he saw things differently, and I saw things differently, but I didn't know if that, if both you and Robbie saw if the game would have changed had Reardon called a timeout. And Carol, you gave your opinion on it.
I definitely think it would have.
It's hard to know. Right? I think that he did a great job calling the timeout in the previous game, but at the same time, it doesn't necessarily guarantee that that's always going to work. But I see what you're saying and how you could have used it there and why save it, for example. But sometimes you think that maybe at the very end of the game that you might need one. So if you want to be able to challenge something later on, at the very end of the game,
right,
you can't have it. So, I think it's easy in hindsight to say, yeah, you should have used it, it would have worked, but we don't know, and maybe we need the timeout for, some sort of a replay later. So, Because then that would be really upsetting if that were to happen, and then people would be like, I can't believe you just took them out, right? So, it's a tough way to do it. But let's go through the upcoming schedule real quickly, because I know that your time is short, and then we're going to get into some March Madness, and we just got a busy, crazy show. But it's going to be a tough, rough week. I'm just going to get through the schedule real fast and then get your guys' thoughts on it. There's 4 games. It starts off at New Jersey, a 7:30 game. It's Tuesday, March 19th. It's tomorrow. Then the next day, Wednesday, March 20th, we play Tampa Bay at home, also at 7:30. And then Friday, March 22nd, we play Minnesota, continuing the home stand. It's a 7 o'clock start. And then Sunday, it's a matinee game against Philadelphia, who it'll be the third time in 3 weeks or less playing them. So that'll be a 12:30 start. Carol, real quickly, your thoughts on New Jersey, Tampa, Minnesota, and Philadelphia.
New Jersey should definitely be a win there. Started out hot, but traded players they have a young lineup that's, should be no problem for the Capitals to get that game. Tampa game, as I mentioned earlier, they should be out for blood on this one. They should be, a little upset about the way that game turned out, and hopefully be able to get that home victory and get that game back, because they're in a tight race with the Islanders right now, and it's coming down the line. And then against Philly, as I said previously, should be another victory against this team. They're scrappy, they fight, they play hard, but the Capitals are just a better team.
I know you're. So did you go through all of them? No. Did you just go?
Yeah, I just went through all 3 just real quick.
Minnesota.
Yeah. Oh, Minnesota. I'm sorry. I don't know where I got Philly from. Minnesota. I was looking at my phone and checking out the old schedule. Minnesota. I missed those.
I was going to say there's 4.
It's 4 next week. Oh, okay. I missed it on my schedule. Minnesota, they've been scrapping. Our good buddy Bruce Boudreau is out there. No, he's not out there no more. Who's that? I don't like that coach that's out there. I forgot who it was that's out there now. But they've still fighting for wild card. I've been watching some of their games lately because they've been on late, and they're a funny team. Some days they get come out playing sharp, and some games they don't. So it's going to be interesting to see how that game, because the Caps can fall into that slow start against a team like that, because it seems like sometimes they play down to the competition that they're going up against.
You're right, by the way. It is Bruce.
Oh, it is Bruce? Okay, I thought that's right. He got from Anaheim there. That's right. Okay. He's been so many places, but he's still one of my favorite coaches.
Yeah. Alrighty. Anna, those 4 teams, real quickly before we let you go.
Yeah, Devils, I feel like their strength right now is their defensive line. I've said it before. You have Green, Severson, Butcher. It's a strong line. They're young. They're trying to kind of get back together and go forward. Not a team to, assume we're going to win, but we should. But I feel like their defensive line is their strength. Going into Tampa Bay, my goodness, Saturday's game was a little eye-opening. This team is really no joke. You have Killorn, Point, McDonough, who I can't stand, and then you really have quite a fantastic goalie in Vasilevsky. So it's a matter of Cap literally coming out of, for the announcements with Wes Johnson and saying, okay, here we are ready to play 60 minutes of physical and hardcore hockey. That's exactly what they need to do against Tampa Bay. There's no reason why we can't beat them. But they just have to have that mindset of bring it on and we've got this. Minnesota, another one of those teams. Stahl, you have some players on there that are very good. Again, 60 minutes of hockey with and I wouldn't be surprised if they put Copley in for this game, and I think that would be good for the momentum. And the Flyers, it's a team that you want to be frustrated with and not like, but they're rebuilding. They're trying, and I think that of these 4 games, Devils and Flyers, we should win. Tampa Bay, or excuse me, and Wild. So I think 3 of the 4 games we should have W's for.
Sounds good. Well, I just want to let everyone know if they want to catch more of Anna and Gil on the Power Play Point podcast, go to SportsOTHP.com and click the Power Play Point podcast button. They'll populate all of their near 100 episodes, right? You guys are getting close to your 100th episode. I think 99 was what you just...
I'm so excited about. We have 6 different female Caps hockey fans calling in, and 1 special guest calling in from Scotland. So we're just over the moon. It's just great. So thank you so much for your support on Sports on the Hill.
No problem.
Yeah, real quickly, is it Billy? Is it Billy calling in?
It's not. It's
somebody else.
Anna McKenna. Yeah, no, all females. Yeah.
Nice.
Well, she goes.
Bill's not even on the show, or is he on?
He's going to be. Gil's going to be lingering in the background, which sounds creepy, but he's going to be in the background. You know, if there's any questions or whatever. But it's pretty much just going to be me having phone calls from 2 callers at a time for about 10-15-minute segments for the hour, and we have everybody from Pucker Sports to Big Stick to fans to and then this fantastic fan in Scotland.
That's awesome. No, well, it's fun to end this month off right. I'm so thankful that Haley was able to start this conversation. I'm excited to hear this wonderful podcast for the episode 100. But yeah, definitely everyone should check out all their old podcasts, and I'll definitely have to come back over to Power Play Point Podcast and do a show with you guys soon as we get geared up for the playoff. But I look forward to listening to your show while I'm on spring break next week. So for fans of our show, I won't be on, but I will be in Texas. But I'm sure that Anna and Carol will get you covered with all the latest Caps news next week as well. And then, as Carol mentioned, we'll have a heavy Redskins talk podcast, and I'm sure that he'll start to cover a little baseball as well, since the season is just starting around the corner. But Anna, as always, thank you so much for being a part of it. You know, we're celebrating women's history. We are so thankful that we've got such a knowledgeable woman hockey fan on our team, and we really appreciate all that you do for supporting the podcast and being a part of it.
Yeah, it was my honor, and Haley's group is just rocks. It was so awesome, and I'm so glad that my daughter had sort of a silly but very much an 8-year-old question for her. So that was fantastic that she answered it. So thank you, Robbie. I won't talk to you, I guess, next week, but Carol, definitely you.
All right, talk to you next week. Have a good night. We'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Bye, guys.
All right, night. Oh, man, that was a great first hour, Robbie. Great first hour for the 100th episode. Make sure you go check it out on SportsOTHP.com if you missed any parts of the interview in the first half of the hour with Haley Skarupa. Go check it out because it was a great interview. She's a great guest and love having her on for the second time on our show. Hopefully continue to get her on over and over again. So I'm going to go ahead and end this Facebook Live feed now. I appreciate folks chiming in and checking us out. Make sure you check us out whenever we have more Facebook Live feeds, comments, questions. You can call in on the True Radio hotline at 347-884-9299 anytime we're on the air.